now call the January 22nd, 2025 Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. This agenda was posted in compliance with the open meeting law, and all members are in attendance with the exception of member Davenport via teleconference. Ms. Davenport, are you there? Hello?
Hi there, I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then please just acknowledge that Chuck Baker is not here.
And Chuck Baker is not here tonight. A quorum is established. Please join me in standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item is the initial public comment period. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item, but there are also specific public hearing for numbers 5 through 7 if you would like to specifically speak during those agenda item numbers. And again, that is 5 through 7. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide public comments.
Excuse me, Chair May. Just a small correction, it's only 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Right. Is there anybody that would like to come to the podium? Seeing no one is coming forward, we will close the first public comment period. Staff has requested that the commission switch the order of the agenda considering agenda item number 6 prior to agenda item number 5. Do I have a motion to change the order?
Motion to change the order.
Motion to change the order.
I'll second.
And you will second as well. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved unanimously. Next is agenda item number 1 for possible action, approval of the minutes of the December 4th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll approve.
You'll approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second. All in favor say aye.
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 Motion is approved unanimously. Agenda item number 2 for possible action, election of officers. Staff, can you provide an overview, please?
Of course. So good evening, Commissioners. Nikisha Lyon, City Planner with the Community Development Department. On an annual basis, the Commission elects the members who will serve as Chairman and Vice Chairman for the Commission. The Chairman is the presiding officer at all of our meetings unless they're unable to attend, in which the Vice Chairman will perform these functions in their absence. So current Chairman is Member Davenport, who's on the line with us, and the current Vice Chairman position is vacant due to the election of Member Ashurst to the City Council. Chairman Davenport has expressed her interest in continuing to serve either as the chair or as a vice chair, and so there is a letter of interest that is attached in the agenda packet that's on page 19. As far as for the process, if you would refer to the nomination and voting process chart that is on page 18 of the agenda packet. So Member May will open the floor to nominations, and any member may nominate another. Member May will ask for the nominee to consent to that nomination, and then we'll ask if there are any further nominations before closing this process. If there's only one nomination for that position, that person is elected by acclamation. However, if we do have multiple nominees, the chair will take a vote. Once a nominee has been selected, the chair will announce the nominee has been selected, and the process will then repeat for the vice chairman. Staff is available if you guys have any questions and need any additional guidance, and then I'll turn it back over to you, Chair May.
Thank you. Do we have any nominations? I would like to nominate Blair Davenport to continue.
Second that recommendation.
You second that? Anybody else?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved unanimously. Blair Davenport has been selected as chairman. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do we have any nominations for vice chairman?
I nominate Krista May for vice chair.
I'll second it.
In favor?
All in favor? Say aye. All right.
Aye.
Why, thank you. By acclamation, myself, Krista May, has been selected as vice chairman. Next is agenda item number 3 for presentation by the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce regarding their Main Street Boulder City program. Staff, your report?
Yeah, so as the commission may recall, at the July 24th, 2024 meeting, a presentation was requested regarding the Main Street Boulder City program that was recently launched by the Chamber of Commerce. Joining the Main Street America program has been something that the Chamber has been working on for a few years now. And for some background, the program is a nonprofit organization that's focused on helping to strengthen and re-energize downtowns and neighborhood commercial districts. The city allocated $100,000 for fiscal year 2024 to support the Chamber in their efforts to do so. And so we have Joe Lagan with the Chamber, as well as Amber Cunningham and Danielle Stemmer. They're here to provide an overview of the program, its mission, and then just to present to the commission what they've been working on. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikisha. Jill Lagan with the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Boulder City. Thank you, Chair or Interim Chair or now Vice Chair, I suppose, and also our Chair online and other commissioners. I'm grateful to be here with you tonight. This is a fabulous program. It's a wonderful opportunity, and this is something that the state of Nevada has been working on for quite some time, so we were grateful for the efforts of Assemblywoman Heidi Swank, who created this multiple legislative sessions ago and wanted to be a part of what Nevada was doing and helping with Governor's Office on Economic Development in the economic development sphere and making sure that we brought Main Street to Boulder City. So this particular program falls under the Boulder City Economic Vitality Commission. It's a separate 501c3 from the Chamber of Commerce, and this is actually run like a separate business. And so we're grateful that we had the ability to hire several, 3 contractors that are here. 2 of them are here tonight. Michelle Caven is not. She's working in Vegas, so unfortunately we weren't able to have her with us this evening. But I'd like to introduce to you Amber Cunningham and Danielle Stemmer. They'll be doing the presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Hello, everyone. I'm pretty sure you guys have all the information as far as, oh, there it is. Our
There's also a
PowerPoint.
clicker if you'd like to click
Oh,
through. You can do
perfect.
that.
There we go. So as Jill said, we are a new program under the Chamber of Commerce. Excuse me. We are part of the Main Street America program, and we are here to kind of preserve the unique heritage and character of Boulder City. Our Main Street program is an initiative run through the Chamber. Like Jill said, we did get some funding from the city, so that is good. Let me see here. And then Jill already introduced us, but Amber Cunningham, Danielle Stemmer, and then Michelle Caven is our other consultant. I have some experience in the federal government. I used to work for the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's a little bit of my background. I have admin and both clinical. I worked in the emergency department for a number of years. And then I was a stay-at-home mom, and then this became available, and I was very excited to be a part of it. Amber, if you want to give a little bit about your background.
Oh, sure. I'm Amber Cunningham. I worked for the Bureau of Reclamation 21 years as a project manager, and now I'm enjoying, working for the Main Street program, trying to improve our community and help the city and chamber out. Yeah, and I guess Michelle isn't here, so.
But Michelle has a lot of experience working in a nonprofit, and then I think she's working for another nonprofit right now. She just got a new position. So we do have several Main Street neighbors. We have Main Street Tonopah, Main Street Gardnerville, as well as us here in Nevada. And then we have Main Street Kingman. So the Main Street America program was founded in 1980. It has catalyzed over $100 billion in local reinvestment, restored 325,000 buildings, and created 700,000 jobs. It's launched over 160,000 new businesses in more than 2,000 communities. So there's a lot of good things happening with Main Street. So our mission statement here for our Main Street program is to amplify and support the City of Boulder City and the Chamber of Commerce in its efforts in revitalization and tourism with a strong emphasis on our town's historical roots. We aim to serve as the connective liaison between business owners, local government, and the community. So for the Main Street approach, there are, I guess it's a framework. There are 4 main pillars, and they're broad, but they are organization, promotion, design, and economic vitality. That is what we want to bring to our community, specifically the historic district. So for community engagement, we want to obviously foster a vibrant community, support local businesses in the historic district, inclusive atmosphere for residents and visitors, and collaboration with other organizations. So recently, we just had our Main Street Boulder City New Year's Eve block party for New Year's Eve, which was very well attended. But that was one of the things we wanted to do to help local businesses. The idea was to throw this party, have everyone come out, enjoy food and drink from the local businesses, and then in turn, that money kind of goes back into the city.
Yeah, we could also mention in terms of collaborating with other organizations that we worked with the Sunrise Rotary, and so they helped sponsor funds, and so did the Boulder Dam Credit Union and Bruce Woodbury. So we're working with others who have a similar mission so that we can do great things for the community.
I cut off my slide. So historic preservation. So the emphasis on supporting and preserving the historic district. That's one of our main goals that we've put a lot of thought into. There are different grants available through the Main Street program for the different businesses in the historic district. Those funds can help restore the facade of the buildings. If they need new signage, things like that, we can go ahead and help them apply for different grants. The economic benefits of preserving historic architecture and character, I mean, it's amazing when you drive through town. Like, you can see all these historic buildings, and we want to preserve them for future generations. Economic support. So one of our missions is to support promotion of local businesses in the historic district. So we just did a planning session for the upcoming year. And one of the things that we would like to introduce is, well, we have the wine walk, which is awesome, but we were thinking about doing a taste of Boulder City. So people buy a tasting card, and the participating restaurants have appetizers, hors d'oeuvres, possibly a drink, and they can go around, get their card punched, and then enjoy something from the local businesses, and that money would be split amongst the businesses.
It's a great idea.
Let's see. Marketing and beautification initiatives targeted at the historic area. So we've definitely gone around to the businesses. We've talked about the different grant opportunities available to them. And let's see. So first half of the year, I'm sorry, this PowerPoint was created in November because we were originally supposed to come in November to speak. But
So this was last year.
yeah, so this was last year. So let me see. So we've had 2 successful volunteer recruitment fairs. We've had local nonprofits within the Boulder City, Henderson area that have come. They've set up their tables and booths, and then we just bring in potential volunteers. And the first time we did it was in April. It was successful, and the second time we did it was in September, which was even more successful. We've gotten a lot of nonprofits to have a lot of volunteers. The Sweep the Town event was a community cleanup. We had a couple people come out. They were able to pick up trash. Actually, there was quite a bit of trash from around town. They cleaned the different statues, the benches, things like that to help kind of beautify the downtown area. We did have Shakespeare in the Park. That was on a night that the temperature dropped. And then there was the local high school football game, and I think it was just the last football game. So the attendance was there, but I think it'll be even better this spring. We're going to have another Shakespeare in the Park event, and then our New Year's Eve celebration, which was very successful. Second half of the year, of year one, collaborative second Saturday events. So we were talking about possibly doing like downtown Las Vegas does First Fridays. So we were talking about doing a second Saturday, having like a farmer's market almost, having different vendors come out, hear from the community. Educational outreach initiative. So one of our newest projects that we're working on, we've partnered with the local elementary school, and it's for Historic Preservation Day. We're going to go in and teach the children a little bit more about Boulder City and why it's important, why this community is important. And then we're going to have them basically draw a historic location in Boulder City, and then we're going to print them on flags. So you see all the historic district flags on the light poles. That is basically our premise. We're going to print their designs, hang them up during Historic Preservation Month, and then the child can keep the flag after that. And so we're hoping it's going to be a legacy project. We go in and talk to the fourth graders, and that's something they can look forward to in their fifth grade year.
So we should say we're still planning and strategizing this. It isn't guaranteed yet, but we hope that this will come to fruition.
And then one of the other things we're going to be doing this year is Young Entrepreneurs Day. We are going to partner with a couple local businesses and bring out young people who are interested in starting their own business, kind of give them information on how to go about doing that, and if they have any items they want to sell, possibly selling those items. And then we have quite a bit of support within the community. We're hoping to collaborate more with businesses, getting more people involved here in the community, and bringing in more people to help support businesses. I don't know, do you want to do conclusion?
So just in conclusion, we're trying to support the downtown historic district and the businesses so that we have continued growth and historic preservation for all the community to enjoy as well. And so we basically have our contact information up there. You can reach out to the Boulder City Chamber of Commerce or Main Street Boulder City. What's our website? Main Street
MainStreetBoulderCity.com.
Yeah, MainStreetBoulderCity.com. And I guess at this point, maybe we'll ask Jill if she has any final words.
Thank you, I do. I just wanted to mention the board of directors because they're essential to the work that we are doing. So we'd like to thank Blair Davenport, who is one of our board members, as well as Jack Rotoli with 365. We also have Michelle Gemmel with Quantum Printing, Sage, Boulder City Magazine. I think she's got a million businesses. She really does. Koki Booth, Councilwoman Koki Booth, we're really grateful to have her. And then Lindsay Stevens of the Coffee Cup. So the idea is representation from historic businesses, City Council, as well as the Historic Preservation, all have representation on our board. And so we're grateful for the time we had to share this information with you. We would love to work with any initiatives that you might have that we can be beneficial for the efforts you guys are putting forth. And then also we'll obviously pay attention to what the councilwoman and what the city council are looking for, in kind of direction they give us. And so we're excited to be a part of this. We think this is a fabulous addition. Obviously you can see we are surrounded with really great qualified skill sets, and so we know that this is going to be a successful organization moving forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Jill, Amber, and Danielle. Amber, enjoyed watching your podcast. I stumbled upon it, and it was good watching. Any questions for
I have a question. Would you guys be interested in helping, collaborating with us for the Historic Preservation Day?
Perfect.
That's something we were planning on doing.
And you had mentioned that's what the flags are for?
Correct.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we will absolutely be in touch. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Krista, I had a question also. On many of the things that the three of you brought up, I'd like to talk with you in more detail. We don't have time tonight, but if I were to call one of you at the chamber next week, would you have time to discuss some of those things with me?
Yes.
Which one of you should I ask for?
I have my business card, and I can give it to you when the meeting's finished.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I just want to say I've had the opportunity to work with your organization through the Nevada State Railroad Museum. You are very easy to work with. You're fun to work with. I appreciate all the work that you and the Chamber are doing on behalf of the City of Boulder City. So thank you very much.
Oh,
Well, thank you.
thank you so much.
Anybody else? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next
Thank
is
you.
agenda item number 4 for possible action. Recommendation to the City Council on an application for a residential historic preservation grant for 535 Birch Street. Staff, your report?
Good evening, Commission. Nikisha Line again, City Planner with the Community Development Department. So for item number 4, the property owners of 535 Birch Street, they've applied for a residential historic preservation grant, and this is to replace 11 windows in the existing frame openings that are visible along Birch Street. The property, the home was constructed in 1938 by the Los Angeles Bureau of Power and Light, and this is one of 27 single-family homes that was constructed for their employees in the Spanish Revival architectural style. The home is a contributing resource to the Boulder City Historic District and is located on the east side of Birch Street between Nevada Way and Arizona Street, as you can see on the screen, the little dot in blue. And then I'm going to go over some views of the home from along Birch Street. So the existing windows, they are original. The property owner states that only a few of the windows are still operational, and those that are very difficult to open. The windows overall are leaky, they allow weather to come into the home, and they pose a risk for injury if they were broken, as well as they limit routes of evacuation if an emergency were to occur at the residence. The property owners are seeking to replace the existing windows with a Milgard C650 Ultra Series fiberglass windows, which are single hung, with 10 windows being 2/2 and 1 window being 1/1 sash configurations. The replacement windows match the grid patterns and the appearance of the existing windows that are on the home. So staff and Courtney Mooney, who is our historic preservation consultant with Broadbent and Associates, we've been working with the property owners in regards to their grant application to ensure completeness, as well as upon the initial review of their application, we did advise the property owners to explore restoration of the existing windows prior to pursuing replacement options. The original application only had estimates for replacements. So the property owners have spent a considerable amount of time contacting licensed contractors, specifically those that participated in our training for the window restoration workshop last year. And they were able to obtain assessments and estimates from 2 of those contractors. So upon further evaluation of the existing windows, replacement of the existing windows was strongly recommended. Based on the existing condition of the windows, refurbishment would pose a considerable risk to the existing materials during the repair process, with no guarantee that the windows could be fully repaired once they're removed. And there may be further damage to the windows that at this point in the assessment is unknown, which would impact the construction cost as well as the time to complete that work, which has not been assessed here at this time of the grant application. Additionally, it is more economically feasible to replace the windows for the property owners, and replacement of all the windows would take far less time than the refurbishment process. Replacement allows for newer glass technology, which is more suitable for energy efficiency, especially with the fluctuations in temperature in our desert climate, and addresses safety concerns regarding the usability of the windows. So staff has included the additional estimates that they did obtain for refurbishment, as well as the property owner's narrative that provides a little bit of additional context, and that's on page 40 of the agenda packet. Ms. Mooney has conducted her review of the application in regards to compliance with our grant guidelines, our applicable design standards, and our Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. As the replacement windows are considered in-kind replacements, meeting the intention of the original windows, which are double-hung wood frame sash windows, this does meet the grant guidelines as well as the design guidelines. So the proposed replacement windows have the appearance of the original divided light windows. The fiberglass frames have the appearance of wood and have been shown to perform better than wood windows for temperature control, and also create a better seal. And the material also requires significantly less maintenance. So here's some other overview of the existing windows, and then this is a little mock-up of what they would look like. These are custom windows, so I wasn't able to get anything from the manufacturer in time, so it's not something they just provide in their brochure. So this is what they would look like. The proposed replacement windows meet half of the applicable Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. The replacement of these windows does remove historic materials that characterize the property and will result in the removal of distinctive features, namely the original wood frame windows that are considered a character-defining feature of the home. Also, once they do this improvement, it is not reversible. However, the original windows have significantly deteriorated, many are not operational, and repair may not be the most suitable option. So therefore, the new windows have been designed to be in-kind replacements that would appear to be like the original ones. The replacement windows will not change the use of the home, nor will it result in the creation of a false sense of historic development. And Courtney Mooney's review has been included on page 86 of the agenda packet. Staff has also reviewed the application for compliance with our overall grant evaluation criteria, which is indicated and denoted on page 38 of the agenda packet. And we do find that the application satisfies the criteria. So with that information, the Community Development Department respectfully requests that the Commission consider the grant application and make a recommendation to the City Council. Staff, as well as our consultant, Courtney Mooney, we are available for any questions that the board may have. The property owners are here, Arthur and Cynthia Swanson, and they can answer any additional questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to say something, Christopher?
For the record, Mr. Swanson is a volunteer at the museum. I just want to disclose our professional relationship before the board considers this matter.
Thank you. Any commission questions for the owner, for staff? We good?
This is Blair. I have a couple of questions.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Blair.
Thank you. I also want to divulge that I did visit Art and Cindy's home and had a good look at the windows and agree with the solution that they've come up with. I do have a question about the screens that are currently there. Do you know if they intend to not use them to cover the new windows, or will they reuse screens?
I will actually have them answer that.
Thank you, Commissioners, and let me just also say that we really appreciate the work of Nikisha Lyon and Courtney Mooney on our project. To answer the question about the screen, those screens are intended to keep heat out, and so if everything goes well with the windows and the heat is kept out, I think the screens would not be necessary. If heat continues to come into the home, then we might want to keep the screens. And that's the best answer I can give you.
Thank you. Thanks, Art.
Thank you.
Uh,
Did you have another question
mine-
for me?
Sorry, Art, not for you, but for Courtney. So if the project is implemented as planned, will the property continue to be a contributing resource to the Boulder City Historic District?
Hi, this is Courtney Mooney, and yes,
And then a follow-up, will this project affect, and maybe this is reading a crystal ball, if the property, if other work were done at the site, would it affect its individual eligibility listing? Meaning if there was additional work that brought it to, tried to bring it to being eligibly, or listed individually, would the windows detract from that individual listing?
typically, when windows have been replaced, a building is no longer eligible for individual listing on the National Register.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. And like I said, I do agree with the project as written.
And I just wanted to quickly add, I wanted to thank the applicants, the Swansons as well, because this actually inspired the city and myself to kind of put together a helpful sheet for applicants for windows that kind of has definitions about different window parts and what windows might be acceptable and the different styles that are found in the district. That's under review by staff right now, but I think that I apologize that it wasn't there before this particular application, but hopefully it will help future applications.
Would that be something that we could send out to the homeowners in the district?
Yes, once it's finalized, we'll definitely post it on the website, and that is
Fantastic.
something that we can send out to them.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I would like to clarify something. I heard first that replacing the windows will not change the home as far as being historic. But then I heard changing the windows makes it, disqualifies it. Can I get a little bit of clarification?
Courtney, do you mind clarifying?
No, not at all. So it will not impact the home's contributing status to the historic district. So it's still a contributor as opposed to a non-contributor that has had significant alterations and maybe large additions or something where you can kind of no longer see that building is contributing to the district's history or associated with the district's history at that point. So it's still a 535 Birch can still be considered contributing to the history of the district, but it can't be considered individually eligible for listing in the National Register. Usually buildings that are individually eligible have had no changes or alterations whatsoever.
Well, I know the DOI standards can be somewhat confusing. Essentially here, when you look at the
Yep.
historic district as a whole, it takes into consideration every home, business, government building that's within that district and how they contribute to the overall historic value of that district. And what Courtney's saying here is if we took this home and put it out on its own, then it would no longer be eligible because those original historic fabric had been removed and replaced.
Anybody else? Do I have a motion?
I first motion.
Approve, all right. Do we have a second? I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion to approve?
And if you
All
could
in
ju-
favor,
sorry,
say
could you just also state the
aye.
motion for me? Thank you.
What page was that?
So it would be to make a recommendation to the city council for approval of the grant application for 535 Birch Street.
For for the approval of 535 Birch Street.
I make the motion. First
To
motion.
approve. Do you have a second?
The
will
motion is already
approve.
made in second. We just have to verbally state exactly what
What it is.
What it is.
Yeah. So you can go ahead and take the
Not in
vote. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Pardon?
Go ahead and take the vote.
The vote.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion is approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Sorry for that is. Next is agenda item 5 for possible action matters pertaining to a certificate of appropriateness for 50 Avenue I, a public hearing on an application for certificate of appropriateness. Consideration of COAHPC-25-006 on a certificate of appropriateness application for a retaining wall located at 501 Avenue I pursuant to section 11-27-5.C.3 of the city code. Staff, your report, please.
Thank you, Chair May. Vice Chair May. So the item before you tonight is a certificate of appropriateness request. This is for 501 Avenue I, as Vice Chair May stated. This is pertaining to a 3.5-foot high split face textured CMU retaining wall, which is going to be installed along the front property line that abuts Avenue I. So this is the overall location of where it is. And this, the yellow lines represent the placement of the retaining wall. And here you can see what it looks like. So 501 Avenue I, it's a single-family dwelling that was constructed in 1932 in the National Folk style. The property also contains a detached garage, which was constructed in 1980. The home itself is considered a contributing resource within the historic district. So as this improvement requires a building permit and it is visible from a public street, a certificate of appropriateness is required, as well as our code states that review and approval by the Historic Preservation Commission is also required as it pertains to retaining walls located in front yards for contributing structures. So Courtney Mooney, our historic preservation consultant, she's reviewed the application for compliance with the adopted design guidelines and the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. As our design guidelines that would be appropriate for this building do not specifically address retaining walls, for the purposes of this application, the adopted guidelines are not applicable to the proposed work. However, the the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation would apply. So the proposed retaining wall does comply with the majority of those standards. Just to summarize, the proposed retaining wall will not result in the removal of historic materials or alter any features or spaces that characterize the home. The proposed improvements, specifically the breeze block and the metal fencing, do reflect a mid-century modern architectural style, which is not compatible with the National Folk style home that was built in the 1930s. However, the retaining wall does not create a false sense of historical development, nor will it impact any character-defining features of the home. It will also not destroy any historic materials that characterize the home, the site, as well as the district. The proposed improvement is sufficiently differentiated from the historic architectural features of the building on the site and in the district. However, the materials are just not compatible with the architectural features, which reflect a National Folk style home that was constructed in the early 1930s. The retaining wall is something that is fully reversible after it's installed. This application was noticed in conformance with city code. We did receive one public comment, which was in regards to the height of the retaining wall and whether it would obstruct any views of vehicles at that intersection, which that would not occur, so I let that resident know. So on the screen again is the proposal. This is just some existing photos of the home that were provided in the application. So it's going to basically be 3 feet from the back of the sidewalk. And then this is the material in which will be utilized. So with this information, the Community Development Department respectfully requests that the Commission hold the public hearing that's related to this item and then make a motion regarding the application. Motion language is on page 313 of the agenda packet, and then there's just a small edit to that motion language to just change the address to reflect 501 Avenue I when you're making the motion. Staff, as well as Courtney, we are available here for questions. We do have the applicant, Jared Lawson, as well as the property owners, Megan Comfort and Austin Spencer. They're in attendance tonight, and they can also answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
I've got some questions, so whoever wants to represent, if you could come up to the podium, please. Based on what I'm seeing from the images you submitted, this is largely, the retaining wall is largely for landscaping, to do landscaping, xeriscaping in the front, as well as to create that wind block. Is that correct?
Yes, we're just trying to basically level off the lot, because the north to south on the lot, there's a 42-inch difference in elevations, and so the homeowners just wanted to have that leveled off, area for kids to play, things of that nature. And there's going to be a little walkway. The wall's not going to be any higher than 42 inches. The highest point is 42 inches on the south side of the lot. But it's all for basically to retain the soils for the vegetation, things of that nature.
When you say not higher than 42 inches, I mean, we're talking almost 4 feet at that point. That's a significant elevation that's non-original material and detracting from the historic setup of that structure, is it not?
It is, but again, we're not working on the home. We were just trying to create a leveled spot, and that's shooting from the sidewalk on the north side of the lot to the south. That's the difference in order to make that lot level in front.
And what about the materials you've selected for this, particularly the cinder blocks, the metal gating? I mean, none of this is conforming with the architectural standards of the home. Why were those materials chosen, and why haven't you looked at conforming patterns instead?
At the time, we had already started engineering the project, and according to Nikisha, there was only masonry brick that would work, and that won't retain the soils. You just can't. The wall will fail eventually. So it was suggested that we go with the CMU units instead of block. And for aesthetics, they didn't want to have boulders out in front retaining the soils.
No, I get it. I
Yeah.
just did my backyard. I get it.
Yeah, it's a tricky. I know we're trying to preserve as much as we can there, and this was kind of the best solution that we had at the time.
That's all the questions I have, Chair.
Anybody?
I have a question. This is Blair. I'm confused about the project as far as the review is concerned. This is maybe for the city. Are we just reviewing the retaining wall, or also the entire project that includes the metal fence and the breeze block wall? Since they're not, attached to the retaining wall.
Yeah, it's just the retaining wall.
So why were the other features addressed in the review?
Courtney,
breeze
are
block,
you able to answer that?
It should affect the certificate of appropriateness. Courtney, are you able to talk to that?
Yeah, this is Courtney Mooney. I just was reviewing the overall design of the wall, the breeze block, which I'm not sure if that's still part of the design anymore, but my initial review of the breeze block was that it was very mid-century modern, and the metal fencing seemed very modern as well, but that was it. Just overall, just kind of a more mid-century feel than a 1930s house. That's the gist of my comments.
Thank you.
If I could interject really quick, the breezeway block that's on the rendering on the south side of the lot is not going to be installed right of the picture. It won't retain its integrity, and it's structurally not sound, so that is not going up. I
Okay.
think that's what everyone's questions relate to, but that is not going to be installed after
Okay.
the engineers have.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much for that, because I have not seen the latest iteration, so.
Yeah, so after the engineers looked at the CMU and we want to keep the tensile strength, the integrity of the block wall, that breezeway block pictured on the right will not be installed.
And once we have the new iterations in the building permit, that's something that we can provide to you all to see. This is just something we're trying to get done for the applicant for the timeline of what they're trying to do and getting the construction going.
I have a question. Do you have any plans to change the exterior of the house in the future?
I do not.
Are there any plans?
The homeowners can comment more about that, but
Okay. Presently, right now, there's aluminum siding that is on the outside of the home, and a lot of it needs to be replaced. It's either fully rusted out in some areas or is just completely damaged and kind of just hanging on. So yes, we will have to change the exterior at some point. We're trying to look at the Secretary of Interior to see what available materials there are to make sure that we maintain with the historic, guidelines that are required. But it's really going to depend on what we are able to do with the home because we haven't actually taken any of the exterior siding off, so we're really not sure how much needs to be repaired once we do that. So that will really be the deciding factor on what we actually request to be on the exterior, which might require us coming here again.
So if you're looking at complying with the DOI standards in the future, why haven't you taken that into consideration with the fencing and some of these other materials?
Well, we didn't realize that a certificate of appropriateness would be needed for just a 3-foot retaining wall, because in our minds, it was just a retaining wall to hold soil to level out the front yard. We didn't realize that that would actually be something that we would require a historical certificate of appropriateness meeting, and that it would be something that would be basically viewed as us degrading the contributing factors of the home. So in our minds, it was just the engineer stated CMU is what would hold soil. It met the building department requirements that are needed to get a permit. And so we didn't realize that a certificate of appropriateness would be required at that time. It wasn't until after we did all of this work and paid an engineer to actually do the CMU calculations for us.
For staff, we're just considering the retaining wall tonight. The decorative fencing and these other elements of concern are not as part of the certificate of appropriateness. That would be before this body later.
Yeah, it's just the retaining wall. Yes, that's correct. Any other improvements that would be required to come back in front of you at that time, once they apply for those things, we would bring it back forward to you.
My understanding is that the landscaping doesn't need the certificate. So the rest of the front yard doesn't need the certificate. It's just that retaining wall, which is why we're here.
Doesn't changing the fencing and that type of stuff fall within the guidelines though? Because it's definitely in some of the historical guidelines.
Yes, that is correct. And if it is visible from Avenue I or the other street that's there, then that would have to come back in front of us. But the building permit that they're applying for is just for the retaining wall at this time.
Okay, so the other, just clarifying, I'm sorry, making sure I'm understanding what we're being asked for here. The fence and some of those other items addressed in the visual aids that were provided are not being considered at the time. That would be coming later.
Yes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions? Nope, everybody good? Do I have a motion to approve or deny?
Acting Chair May, we still need to do the public hearing.
That's correct.
The public needs to be able to comment.
Any public comments? Did you want to make a comment or? No?
You'll have to get up and.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I kind of do. I live on Avenue K, which is, I have an older home, 1942. But anyway, like my neighbor altered their property without a permit.
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, my name is Helmut John McGuire. I live at 517 Avenue K in Boulder City. We purchased about 3 years ago. My neighbor put in a wall without a permit. In my understanding, if you do it Friday, Saturday, Sunday with people that don't speak English in Boulder City, that you don't need a permit. So they raised their property from 2 feet to 3 feet along the side of my house and across the front with red rocks, the little red rocks you stack on top of each other. So there's no footing, no moisture barrier, nothing. So when it rains, it floods my garage. But my thing is, you know, you make these people jump the hoops, and I was just curious why some people have to jump the hoops and some people don't. I actually came and talked to the planning people over here, and they told me I have to go call the code enforcement dude. So the code enforcement guy came by, he goes, I don't do walls. So then I called the building inspector, he came by, and he goes well, I have to go get an attorney because it's already up. Which I don't understand, it's because, you know, I'm not trying to be rude or anything to anybody, I just came to see how this process works, you know, and I'm gonna make an appointment with whoever I have to, so that somebody that knows. Obviously, the building enforcement guy doesn't know nothing about walls. But anyway, long story short is that I just came to see what was going on, because obviously, if you do it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you build a wall, and you have a lot of people that don't speak English come and fill it all up, the whole property, so now it's not level with mine anymore, it's 2 to 3 feet higher, and that causes flooding because there's no footing when it does rain, and there's no moisture barrier. So I was just curious, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make a problem or anything, I was just curious. That's why I came here today. Obviously, some people have to jump the hoops, and some don't. And I don't know these people. I just came to observe how this process works, and that's the only reason I came. And thank you for your time, and I appreciate you folks' time. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Any other public comments? We good? Do I have a motion to approve or deny? Approve?
Oh, Commissioner May, if you could just close the public comment period, and then we can go on to voting.
Public comment is now closed. I'm reading my script and it's not in there, sorry.
My apologies.
No.
You're doing good for winging it at the last moment.
Hey, I'm trying. This was the biggest one yet. All right. Public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to approve or deny?
I motion to approve it.
Do I have a second to approve? All right, we do not have a quorum enough to pass a approve, so I move to deny a certificate of appropriateness. Yes, Davenport? No? 1005 Arizona Street, based on the finding.
Sorry, it's 501 Avenue I.
Oh, Lord. Sorry about that.
Ms. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
So if this is denied, do they have the opportunity to bring it up again at a future meeting?
They would be able to appeal this decision to the city council, so that would be their next step if they'd like to, or they could redesign it and then bring it back forward for reconsideration by the board. So those are two options that they'd have.
I move to deny certificate of appropriateness for 501 Avenue I, based on the findings that the proposed work does not comply.
And you all have to make findings to support the denial motion. So if you're saying it does not comply with the Secretary of Interior standards and that's what you want to go with, because it only meets 4 of the 6 that apply, then that's something that you could go with unless you have other findings that you want to make.
And those findings,
I'm a non-voting member. I'm here to advise you guys. So if you have questions, I can advise you, but I can't influence one way or the other.
each of them needs to say why they deny it though, correct?
Well, once you make the motion, and then there's a second, then it would be open for discussion. So that would be the only time that you'd be able to state your reasons for why to make those findings.
Do you have those reasons? Dawn, did you want to comment?
Am I allowed to ask a question, or am I allowed to state why I motioned to approve it?
So we have a motion to deny. It needs a second for discussion. And back to Ms. Lyons' comment, that discussion would establish the findings that would back up the denial. So we had a motion to approve. There was no second, so that died. Now we have a motion to deny, but we don't have a second. We need a second before discussion can continue.
I'll second.
Okay. All right. So now discussion regarding the motion to deny.
Okay.
And you, as Ms. Lyon noted, you need to establish the findings for the basis of the denial.
Dawn, you said you had a comment?
I just feel that it doesn't go with the historic theme, that it's a more modern look.
The material of the brick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also feel that it's getting, this part's going to get, approved. And it is very modern, and I don't feel like it conforms with the neighborhood. And then the next step is you're going to need to make the house modern. And then now there's a look, that entire look of the house and the landscaping and the wall is not going to be conforming to the historic. I feel like you're going to piecemeal it, if that makes sense.
Can I speak, or am I not allowed to talk?
So that's why I'm denying it, or I'm against it.
I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And the material especially.
Yeah, when everything's said and done, I don't feel like it's going to be what Boulder City is.
And was there any other material that you said that they could use for the brick?
Other compatible material would be boulders, rock, and Courtney's on the line if there would be anything else. But anything that was used around that time period that's still available today is something that
Right.
they could go through and look.
But like you had mentioned, you wanted something it's a wall, and you wanted something to withstand, absolutely.
Yes, and so that would have to be able to retain the soil, and would have to be structurally designed to meet our requirements. And so they've already done that with this material and this wall that's in front of you today. They would have to go back through and evaluate that.
Well, if there's no other materials and they need to put up a wall,
I think part of the issue here is you're talking about putting in a retaining wall and leveling property, and that's not what would have been done in the 1930s. They would have used the natural conformity of the lot.
So based on the pictures that I see from before the renovations started, it looks level to me.
There was a lot of wheelchair access, cement roadway. Am I allowed to talk? I'm sorry.
No.
I'm not. So
Sorry. Yeah, you can't really respond at this point.
That's the tough, yeah.
It looks level.
Yeah, maybe if it was brought to us without the fencing, it's just the other.
Well, again, that is
aspect.
outside of
I
the
know.
consideration of the application.
Right.
It's just pertaining
Just
to
the
the
wall right
retaining
now.
wall.
Just the
They've
wall.
just done other designs, so this is a full mock-up of the other landscaping and the other improvements that they will plan to make later down the line. But this is just to show you just for the retaining wall.
So it looks like two very large trees were removed as well. And it did seem, I walk by this house every day. I walk the neighborhoods in the morning. So I've kind of seen the construction that has gone on. And I do believe you are making some nice changes. From what I can see, it does look really nice in there. But this seems flat to me.
Well, the trees have to be removed.
Well, if the trees were removed, we don't regulate landscaping, so that's not something that's going to require a building permit. So that's something to keep in mind.
I had to replace the entire sewer line to the road. Just so you know, that's the only reason we removed the trees. Otherwise, we would have kept them, but they said that it would keep penetrating
Can we, sorry. Can we, if you would like the applicant to respond to a question, as the acting chair, you can ask them to come to the podium, but we would need them at the mic, otherwise you can't hear it from the public. But it's at the discretion of the acting chair if you have specific questions of the applicant while this motion is on the table.
Okay. I believe with some discussion, she's able, if we have a specific question, I think that's important. Absolutely. Would you like to restate that?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make Boulder City our home. We have 2 small kids. We want them to go to school out here.
So that's why we're here. We're just trying to comply.
Right.
We didn't realize that you guys had so many rules with the historic compliance, and we're trying. So that's why we're here.
We understand your position.
It's a retaining wall, like
Yeah.
that an engineer said, CMU calculations and that cinder block had to be used and it had to be comply with the building department. So it's really odd that the building department would have certain requirements and specifications that we must follow, but it doesn't align with the historic district. And that's what I'm very confused about. So we provided them with all of their checklist items, and then they said, you have to go to Nikisha and get it this. And so it's like, we already did the work and paid the money. So I'm a little confused how it's like, now, like, it's aluminum siding, which technically the Secretary of Interior doesn't even allow. That's not even conducive to a national folk style home. But that's what exists today. And I have to comply when the home itself doesn't comply. Like, I guess I'm a little confused why I am being held to a standard when the home was never that to begin with. And I mean, we're here because we want to make this our home.
And we thank you for that.
And we don't want to do what happened to that poor guy, you know? So we want to follow the rules.
Maybe do it Thursday?
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of where we're at. So unfortunately, we're doing it a little backwards, which we didn't realize. But that's, and everything had a purpose. If we could keep the trees, trust me, we love shade. We're in the desert. Like, we would have kept the trees, but we couldn't. It would have kept penetrating the sewer line that we had to replace entirely. We've had to replumb and redo everything in that
That's a
entire
lot.
home. But we did it because, and we love the style of the home. We want to keep the integrity as much as we can, but we also want to make it something that is our forever home. And so there has to be some type of balance. And that's, I guess, what I'm asking today. And it's really just the retaining wall. Like, if you guys want to fight about the other wall and the breeze block and the rendering, which isn't going on the right side, like he mentioned, then obviously we can have that discussion at that time. But I mean, that's not, there's no plans to do that right now. It's just the retaining wall to level out the front yard so that our kids aren't running around on the front yard on a slope.
Do you know what the degree of the slope is?
I didn't do the calculation off the top of my head. It's going from finished grade sidewalk, which is obviously 0,
Right.
to the north side of the lot is 42 inches. So the wall's going to be 42 inches off the finished grade of the sidewalk on the south. just
Okay.
To make it all level.
I do believe the
Pictures look
engineer
different
might have
than
had
that.
those calculations with the
yeah.
slope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have current pictures by any chance to show the slope? Because the pictures that we have are the ones prior to the trees being removed.
No, that's what the trees removed.
No, it's not.
I thought that there was 2 ash trees out front. Oh, sorry. Those 2 ash trees out front were removed. Those were the only 2. The remaining tree is a pine tree to the south of the home. It's just the 2 trees adjacent to the entry sidewalk that were removed. And that was because, like Ms. Comfort said, the sewer line was damaged beyond repair, and we had to remove them. The other thing I'm kind of curious about is, you guys are worried about the fencing on the property. Right now, the fencing that's there is vinyl fencing, and it's literally falling apart from the sun. So, I don't know so much of it's a safety concern, of course, but I'm almost certain that doesn't comply with the Department of Interior guidelines in erecting things. So that would be another question later down the line, what materials would we use for that fencing? Because I think it's about 4-foot high vinyl fencing that's falling apart due to sunburn. So that's something else that we might want to consider.
This is a tough one. Is anybody wanting to change their vote or more discussion or?
Well, at this point, there's a motion and seconds. You have to hold a vote.
Correct, you would complete the vote, but if you have changed your perspective, you would vote nay on the denial. The other options could be that the commission could ask for additional information and table this item to the next meeting.
Till the
That
next
would be another alternative. If you don't feel comfortable one way or the other.
I would feel comfortable with that.
Does the retaining wall go all the way to Arizona Street? 'Cause right here,
No, it's gonna fall short, and they're gonna place boulders there, so it won't butt into the sidewalk.
and there's no slope on the Arizona side?
That would be, the Arizona side's the south of the lot, I believe. Yeah, so the lot starts its slope from the sidewalk all the way to the north side of the lot, and that change in elevation is 42 inches. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. It's the north side is Arizona Street, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm not seeing that extreme slope.
I'm not either.
I'm not either.
So I think we're thinking the slope is like this, but it's the other way.
I think it'd be better if we had pictures of the current property.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you guys
Slope
look
is
at the
this.
tree and you look downward, you
Where
can see
it's
how it's
coming
Going
slopes
down.
down.
Yeah.
So
It's
here
suggesting it's
it's
sloping.
Yeah.
proper
And-
height,
and we're
but
all
as it
here
all
goes
the way
towards
down
the
like this.
sidewalk, it slopes down. You can
From
see
the top
that.
all the way down.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the tree area is high and then it comes down like that.
Acting Chair May, what I would suggest, if there is not a level of comfort to move forward with denial, go through with the vote, and then clarify as a commission what additional information you would like the applicant to provide. Then we would need a motion to table this item to the next meeting. But I would suggest, moving forward.
Let's move. What additional information would we like them to?
Well,
Well, you have
Wait.
to vote first.
yeah, vote on the denial first, and if it doesn't pass, then you continue to discuss, and then clarify the additional information you're interested in.
Do we have a second for the denial?
We do. So now would be the time for the vote to deny.
Okay.
So all those in favor?
All those in favor of the denial, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
That was
If
in-
there's anyone opposed.
Anybody opposed?
Aye. Or whatever I'm supposed to say. Nay?
Yeah, it would be nay. So just to
There's a-
clarify, we had 4
One.
denial and 1,
One approve, yes.
4 in support of the denial and
Correct.
1 voting nay for the denial.
Correct.
So then the motion passes to deny the certificate of appropriateness.
Yes. And at this point, can we ask for additional information and come back and add it to next month's
No, because.
agenda?
No.
You denied it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at this point, they can appeal it to the city council if they want.
Okay.
No, you're on to the next agenda item.
Are we on 6 right now? You're doing great. All right. Next is agenda item 6 for possible action, matters pertaining to a certificate of.
Sorry, I think we switched 6 and 5, so you'd be going back to 5 now. because you had 6 go first.
Okay.
So this would be,
No, it did change the order. We
switched
switched
it.
them.
right, but this is agenda item 5 now. They're 5 and 6, but you directed to address 6 first. So
Oh, okay, I'm understanding what
yes,
you're
we
saying.
have
It
to follow
doesn't,
the agenda.
understood.
So, yeah.
So it doesn't change the item number. We just
Correct.
considered it first. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. So now we're back to item 5 for possible actions and matters pertaining to the certificate of appropriateness for 1005 Arizona Street.
Okay. For possible action, matters pertaining to certificate of appropriateness for 1005 Arizona Street. Staff, your report, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair May. So this item before you tonight is a certificate of appropriateness related to 1005 Arizona Street. This is for a proposed carport structure that would be located in the parking lot, which would provide shade and sun protection to police vehicles and newly installed EV charging equipment. The city is proposing a carport structure that would be located in the parking lot that is west of the police station. It's 153 feet wide, 36 feet long, and 8 feet high. The structure is a team frame cantilever-style cover, which would be in the same color of the existing carports that are located here in the northwest parking lot of City Hall. The police station is considered a contributing structure within the historic district and is eligible for individual listing on the National Registry of Historic Places. The building was constructed in 1932 in the Spanish Revival architectural style. So as this improvement does require a building permit, because it requires a building permit, as well as it is visible from a public street, a certificate of appropriateness is required. City code also requires the commission to review and approve a COA for this type of improvement for a contributing property, as well as also requires that any city-owned historic properties have to come before the commission for any COAs. So Courtney Mooney, our historic preservation consultant, she has reviewed this application for compliance with the adopted design guidelines and the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. So as the design guidelines that would be appropriate and applicable to the building do not specifically address accessory structures, for the purposes of this application, the adopted guidelines are not applicable to this work, but the Secretary of Interior standards are. And the proposed structure does fully comply with those standards. To summarize, the proposed carport will not result in the removal of historic materials or alter features and spaces that characterize the property. The proposed carport is clearly modern and does not create a false sense of historic development, nor will it impact any character-defining features of the building. It is compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features of the building, as the design is minimally obstructive and is sufficiently differentiated from the historic architectural features that pertain to the building site in the historic district through the use of modern materials and construction techniques. And the carport is fully reversible if it was to be installed. The application was noticed in conformance with city code. We've received no public comment at this time that was written. And so with that, the Community Development Department respectfully requests that the commission hold the public hearing and then make a motion in regards to the application, and the motion language is on page 197. I'm available for any questions that you may have, as well as Courtney, and we do have Gary Poindexter, who's our city's Public Works Director, in attendance tonight that can answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
So this is basically going to be like the one that's...
That exists.
That's already there.
That's correct.
Mr. Poindexter, is there any plans to do solar on these at some point?
Good evening, Commission. No, the carports we're presenting will not hold the solar. The one we had put over there was quite substantial. We do have the EV chargers underneath, and that was the purpose of presenting this. We ran into an issue this summer with the EV chargers that they're they're not going to last long, according to our Turn on Green supplier of going, hey,
The heat.
they've got screens, they've got everything. The heat it got to them. The cars, same thing with the EV cars. Our batteries aren't lasting. So at this point, for the price, we're able to find some within budget to keep the cost low, and so no, the solar wouldn't be added. So
Thank you for the
Thank you.
clarification.
This is Blair. I have some questions.
Yes, go ahead, Blair.
Is parking there only for police vehicles, or is there some public parking there?
Yes, that is correct. It is only for police vehicles in that area.
Okay. The image the first image of a carport has a cantilevered or a pitched roof, not cantilevered, a pitched roof, but the existing carport near the post office has a flat roof. So which roof are you using?
I'll have Gary answer.
Hello, Chair. This is Gary Poindexter. So the top picture that is what we're proposing. That is a non-solar. The one that is at the bottom of the page is on our west of North Escalante, and that has the solar panels on top. So it does allow the water to go through it. It has space, some spacing in between. The other one would be sloped a little bit to allow water to run off.
So it isn't going to match? the
No, it was the
existing-
closest, sorry about that, go ahead.
So the proposal says it's going to match the existing carport, but it's not.
That was the closest we could match with the non-solar, and the color of it will match. The size of it, the center post. There's a lot of other style carports that have a lot more posts than that. We tried to stay down the center, but the cantilever is a little bit different than what we have.
It's also different because you can't, the one you're proposing to use, which I find is nicer than the existing one, the existing carport, you can see the beams, whereas these are like hidden underneath. But anyway, so there's just going to be a couple of different versions of carports now in that area. I guess my next question is, and I don't know if this is important, but should it have been noted in the preservation report that this was north of the South Escalante Park, which is a historic space, which has not yet been evaluated for nomination to the National Register, but is there a need, I think there's a need to at least acknowledge that there's this historic green space in that area. And then my final remark is it really the same size, especially in height, as the existing carport?
The height is the same, with the exception of I'd have to look to see if there's a few more parking spots located in front of by the police station than there is on that side of Escalante. All of them are pretty similar, within 3 to 4 parking spots, but I do not have an exact count.
So is the height the same as at the peak of the roof, or at the?
No, just at the edge, 8 feet.
At the edge. So then the peak is what, 10 feet, 9 feet?
I would say it's safe to say 10 feet, but I do not have the drawing in front of me.
Okay, thank you.
I might have. I'll leave it there.
We'd like to open this up to public comment.
Hello, ladies and
Hello.
gentlemen. My name is Robin Baker. Do I need to give my address or? Okay.
Nope,
Okay,
just your
good.
name, thank you.
Okay, so on this particular matter, I find it interesting that because it's a city building, the modernness of the structure is not a conversation. So I don't even know where to go with that. I just find that interesting. But the other thing I find interesting is that we had a sun structure on the side of our house that you could see from the front sidewalk. And when we were talking with Ms. Mooney as to the appropriateness of our house, we were going to strike out, because you're allowed 3 inconsistencies. But we were going to strike out if we did not remove that sun structure. And if you stood on the sidewalk, my understanding is the evaluation is you stand on the front sidewalk in front of your front door and you look. And if you can see the structure from that front door, then you need to remove it because it was not an original structure. So I'm just wondering if you stand in front of that historic building on the sidewalk and look to the left side of it and to the right side of it, if you would see that particular structure. I don't know, but I think that there are considerations, and I think this is a perfect example of the inconsistencies where the folks who were here previously with the retaining wall that had, I think it's a 2% grade, a retaining wall, and with a structure that wasn't to be considered at all, and future thinking. And then here we have something that's very concrete, this parking structure. So what exactly is modern? What is appropriate? And how much appropriateness do we want in historic Boulder City? But I have more to say about that at public comment. So anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? We're thinning them out tonight. Public comment is closed. I would now like to open the floor for a vote.
A motion.
For a motion. For a motion.
I motion to approve.
I second.
The motion, let's see.
So the motion is second, now you hold the vote. Or see if anyone has any discussion.
Any discussion?
Is there, yeah, I do. I'd like
Okay,
to know if there's a
thank you.
possibility that both of the structures could match, because I think it's going to look a little ugly to have 2 different structures without doing solar panel.
It's definitely something we can do a little more research on. What I could find that had more of a flat level surface, had a lot more post, and did not have the beams down the middle, the main post. So it had, going with the cantilever style, didn't allow us to go to the leveled out. And with the leveled out, you're not getting the drainage off the top. And so with the solar panels, that's where it's level, that solar panel, the water can go through. It's not sitting on top of it, adding weight. So we have to have some type of slope on there or some type of openings.
Couldn't the slope go just slightly one direction?
We
instead
could
of
have, I'm sure there's companies that would custom make one if we had it engineered, but keeping
The price would.
in mind, yeah, we're at 61,000 in material right now, when so the solar one, I would say years ago was in the 200,000+. I'm guessing on that. I'm sure my engineer downstairs watching going, no, a little more than that. But we also had solar money come in, donations for that. On this, we haven't. So the idea is we were trying to find something as close to match that we could. And the same color, and we did look at that it wasn't right next to it, because if we were going to do something south, which we're not, we have no plans on it, it would be right next to that structure, and we'd want it a little more matching there. So, and we do not plan on having anything that's too far off of what we already had in place. So, thank you.
I have a question for Courtney, if you're still on the line, Courtney.
Yes.
Obviously, automobiles have become much more prevalent in the 21st century than they were in the Depression era of Boulder City. Was that lot always used for police vehicles and parking, or did it have a previous historic purpose prior to the city acquiring it for parking?
That is an excellent question. I don't believe that when we did the district update that we researched the previous use of that lot. I can certainly try to go through some historic aerials. The only issue is that the latest aerial, the earliest aerial is for Boulder City is 1980, so I won't be able to go back that far. But I can certainly try to take a look at some historic images and see what I can find for you.
It was previously the library.
It was previously the library.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And the post office.
So really, the only reason it's connected to the police station now is because that's what the city has attached it to. Historically, that was not what that.
Correct.
This-
And
okay.
it's not always been dedicated to the police department. We stenciled it a few years back as our police department grew. We were trying to get our police cars away from being backed up to the park for their own safety. And that way it gave them dedicated parking and not trying to find some parking spot that's not nearby.
So really, this is just a part of the lot because that's now where that address is located, and it's because it's the police station, and therefore we have to consider it as part of the larger building rather than a standalone lot that
That's my-
historically, that's not what was there.
Correct, and that's my understanding, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Blair. I had a question. Is the city still planning to, or is the city, police department still planning to locate other facilities to move to? And if that's the case, then what's the point of this structure?
I can answer that from the standpoint that in the city's 2025-2030 strategic plan, City Council has identified as one of the goals an opportunity to look for additional facilities to support police department functions. That does not mean that they would completely abandon the existing facility, but have additional facilities elsewhere to address their expanding needs. Currently, there is nothing on the books or anything identified for police department relocation.
And that's just a
expansion.
strategic goal. The city hasn't appropriated any funding or anything for that, correct?
That is correct.
No more comment? It's time to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for 1005 Arizona Street.
Sorry, I need clarification if there was any nays.
Nay.
This is Blair, and I am saying nay.
I'm
Okay.
saying nay.
So I have 3 ayes and 2 nays, just to clarify.
Yes, 2 nays and 3 ayes.
So motion passes.
Motion passes. I move to approve.
You already did that.
Yeah.
It's passed, and now you move to the next agenda item.
Okay, I didn't finish that one, so we don't need to finish that one. Okay, moving along. Let's, number 7, agenda number 7. (401).
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Next on the agenda is item number 7 for possible action, matters pertaining to a certificate of appropriateness for 401 California Avenue. Staff, do you have your report?
I do. So this item before you is a certificate of appropriateness. That's for 401 California Avenue. This is for 2 proposed carport structures that would replace the existing ones in the northwest parking lot of City Hall. The existing structures were built in 1990, and the proposed replacement is very similar to the last project that we just spoke about. So it's 2 new 153 wide, 36 feet long, and 8 feet high T-frame cantilever style covers that would be in the same color of those that are existing. So City Hall, similar to the police station, is a contributing structure within the historic district, and it is also eligible for individual listing on the National Registry of Historic Places. The building was constructed in 1932 in the Spanish Revival architectural style. And again, as this improvement requires a building permit and will be visible from the public street, this process in approval of a certificate of appropriateness is required, and that must be reviewed and approved by this commission. As well as, again, City Code requires the commission to review all city-owned historic properties. The commission did previously approve a certificate of appropriateness for the replacement of these carports back in April of 2023. The previously approved design at that time was a 14-foot high clearance carport structure that would have an overall height of 18 feet at the top of the peak, and that would have solar panels on the tiled roof and featured a brick veneer material that would match what we have here at City Hall. But during the design and construction cost evaluation period for the project, the proposed replacement carports were over the City Council approved budget, as well as the previous certificate of appropriateness had expired and they did not pull a building permit. So based on the design changes and the expiration of the certificate of appropriateness, a new application has been filed by our Public Works Department. We have our consultant, Courtney Mooney, on the line, who's reviewed this application for compliance with our design guidelines and the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation. Again, the design guidelines for this building, they don't specifically address accessory structures. So for the purposes of this application, that is not applicable to this work, but the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation is. And to summarize that, very similar to the last application, the proposed carports will not result in the removal of any historic materials or alter any features and spaces that characterize the property. They are clearly modern in design, and they don't create a false sense of historic development, nor will it impact any character-defining features of the City Hall building. They are compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features of the building, as the design is minimally obtrusive and is sufficiently differentiated from the historic architectural features of the building site as well as the district, which is based on the modern materials and construction techniques that are used. And the carports are fully reversible once they're installed. This application was noticed in conformance with our city code. We did not receive any written public comment. And so with that, the Community Development Department respectfully requests that the Commission holds the public hearing and then makes a motion in regards to the application. The motion language is on page 430 of the agenda packet. I'm available for any questions that you may have, as well as Courtney. And again, our Public Works Director, Gary Poindexter, is here, and he can answer any questions you have. Thank you.
I would like to open this up for public comment. No public comment?
And if you could note the phone number on the screen.
If you would like to, please call 702-589-9629. Call in with your comments or questions. Mr. Poindexter is here wanting to answer more questions. All right. No further questions? We would like to close the public
hearing.
I would like to open the floor for a motion.
Wait. I'm sorry,
Blair, go ahead.
this is Blair, I have more questions.
Yes, questions.
So again, I'm really confused about the carport. The image that you show is a carport where there's parking on both sides of the structure, but where you're putting these, where the carports that are being replaced are only single-sided. So what kind of carport are you putting there? Like, why would you need a cantilevered pitched roof for two-sided parking when you're only putting in something for one side of parking, one side of the road or parking lot?
Hi, Chair. This is Gary Poindexter. So we had an overall design and that took care of all of in front of City Hall and this carport area and parking up top. So the main goal was to change the slope to meet accessibility. And so we did have to cut back on this project. It came in millions above what we were hoping. And so part of it, we're just doing the parking lot. So we looked at when 1990s, when the original carport was put in, that landscaped area and the parking area was extended out into the California road there. So as part of this, we are going to be expanding that a little bit. We'll be changing the landscaping, and that allowed us to add more parking, level the area out, add ADA spots, add veterans parking spots, and meet the ADA accessibility to enter into the City Hall from the Bicentennial Park through the gazebo and down our bridge there. So there is some expansion there. That's why you'll see the double-sided compared to the single-sided right now.
So, I'm sorry, I just can't see where people are driving. I don't see where the drives are in relation to parking on each side of the double. So are these both double-sided?
That is correct. It would be double-sided. So on the California side, that would open up. So there would be parking if you drove down California Street, or if you come straight out of the post office, you would be able to park there, and that would be open for public.
Did that help clarify?
Not in my, not by just looking at this one plan, because I can't see, oh, it's really hard on the computer, I don't have a hard copy. Where the drive is in relation to the road, in relation to the parking. So is there parking also adjacent, new parking adjacent to Bicentennial Park? Is that what those spaces are?
That is correct. That would be ADA, additional ADA parking, and that would also be veterans parking along Bicentennial Park there.
But not covered?
Not covered up to the park. And on the plans, you'll see on the south side of that, or to the right, depends on how you're looking at the form there, there will be no access to that part of the parking lot from the City Hall parking lot in front. Now, we did that.
So you're shutting off the parking. Oh, gotcha.
We did that to meet the slopes and cross slopes for ADA. And that was the whole purpose of remodeling this upper parking lot, to level it
Get
out.
into compliance.
Yep.
Okay.
So when people park on the City Hall side, they just can only keep going around the parking lot. They can't cut through to California.
That is correct. Well, they'll be able to come down and turn right up California. They just won't be able to cut through the parking lot there, the covered parking area.
And is that also true for the other drives?
The other drive is still open. That's north of, or just west a little bit. That is going to be open still. We were able to meet the slopes on that for ADA compatibility.
Is the ADA for sidewalks or a road?
So a little bit of both, because parking you have to meet. There's also parameters you have to meet, but the sidewalk, the roadway, the parking, so if you have handicap spots, you can't have too much slope. It's a 2% cross slope. We have to make sure that's less than 2% or less. So this will solve that, and they'll have a less than 2% going into City Hall also. We'll be changing the walkway up to the gazebo. And then there'll also be a walkway down which won't be ADA accessible, but it will slope down to the front of City Hall.
But you're not having to accommodate ADA to the lower parking structure?
Not, both of, that entire area will meet ADA accessibility. The lower parking lot in front of City Hall, not at this time. The plan was just to do the entire area, but we were unable to fund that. So we've cut back the project to meet funding, and this is where we're at. And so we will, if funding is ever available, we will be able to extend it to the rest of the parking lot, but no other carports would be required.
And then, what is that thing, a square, attached or at the end of Escalante Park, North Escalante? I see a bunch of red lines. I'm
Oh,
assuming that's
okay.
utilities.
Yes,
but-
so the red lines you'll see is the electrical. It's all underground. So that will get the solar panels that are on the current solar structure working correctly. That also is going up towards Colorado Street for event power. When we have events up there, we have to run a lot of electrical. We have it going across roads. This will solve that. So part of that is our utilities coming in and doing improvements to, for events, for solar, for EV charging. So that is a connection to a transformer, is the square you asked about.
Is that an underground transformer or above ground?
That one is above ground, but the plan was to enclose it, so well, at one time it was planned to enclose it in a brick, but I think it's gonna be open. So we were cutting back on some cost.
And that's going to be something that's probably 4, 5 feet, 6 feet high?
Yeah, there's a current transformer there right now. This would just be, I think it's a little bit bigger than what we have there right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes.
Are there going to be 2 rows of carports? Is
Yes.
that what that, okay, and these are going to have solar panels?
No, these will
No,
not either.
They will not,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
They would be the same as what, in front of the police department, they'll match,
Okay.
they'll match that, so.
So some of them will be matching.
Yes, those 3 will be matching, yes.
can we get rid of the one that we put in and redo it?
The non-matching one, good Lord. Do I have a motion? More discussion? We're good? Can we take a vote?
You need a motion.
Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Somebody, come on, let's do this. Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'll approve.
Approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second it. Fantastic. I move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for 401 no, good
Whoever's
Lord.
making the motion has to say that language. So
Oh,
she would
okay.
need to say that language.
Okay, go
Which
ahead.
is it? I move to approve a certificate of appropriateness for 401 California Avenue based on the findings that the proposed work complies with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, and the city's adopted design guidelines are not applicable to the proposed work for this building.
That's the motion, it's been seconded.
So go ahead and take a vote.
We need to take a vote. All of those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Blair, aye? Aye.
Correct.
Motion is approved unanimously. Yes. We good? Can we move on? All right, that was the last of those. Thank you so much. We're going to update this for the next meeting. Next is agenda item number 8 for possible action. Commission consideration and discussion regarding the draft intensive level survey and recommendation of eligibility for the Bullock Field Airport. Staff, do you have your report?
Yes, I'm just going to cue this up for Courtney. So as you may recall, back in May of 2024, Chairman Davenport had requested further information and discussion on the old historic airport hangar to be placed on an upcoming meeting agenda. And since 2017, the Historic Preservation Commission, formerly the committee, has had several discussions regarding this property in terms of its historical significance, and proposed to nominate the site to be designated as a historic district back in 2018. However, this remained pending, just awaiting the completion of other tasks. So the commission has re-engaged in discussion on this topic, which supports Goal 3 of the Boulder City Historic Preservation Plan, which states that the city will identify and promote historic resources, including structures, districts, landmarks, and archaeological sites that help to define a sense of place in Boulder City. So the commission discussed this item on July of 2024, or at the July 2024 meeting, and that was with our historic preservation consultant, Courtney Muni. And this was in regards to the property and different options that the city may have in order to recognize its historical significance. And so based on that discussion, the commission provided direction for Ms. Mooney to proceed with a determination of eligibility, to research the property's history and assess the site and the remaining structures to see if the hangar and any other elements that remain on site would meet any of the eligibility requirements to be listed on the National Registry of Historic Places, whether that's individually or altogether as a historic district. So in the staff reports, a little bit of history on the site and a summary of the recommendations of the survey that starts on page 544 of the agenda packet, and the draft survey and the recommendations of the eligibility report that begins on 557. And we do have Courtney Mooney on the line, who's going to provide a presentation on the draft survey, the findings, and the recommendations for the commission's consideration. So tonight, once that's done, we're just seeking direction from the commission on how they would like to move forward with the project. So thank you, and I'll pass it over to you, Courtney.
Hi, this is Courtney Mooney, and I'm just...
Are you still there?
A complete technological meltdown over here. I wanted to add too that the meeting is kind of cutting out a little bit, so hopefully I don't cut out and you can hear the presentation. So good evening, everyone, commissioners and staff. At the request of the city and HPC, Broadbent conducted an intensive level survey of Boulder City's first airport, commonly known as Bullock Field. The study area includes a parcel containing the original airplane hangar, a parcel containing an original terminal building, which is now known as the Elks Lodge, and associated parcels containing remnants of the original runways and associated structures, all located within Boulder City proper. And the purpose of the survey was to evaluate the resources for eligibility for listing in the National Register of Historic Places as individual resources and or as a historic district. The resources were also evaluated for listing in the City of Boulder City's Code of Ordinances, Chapter 27, Historic Preservation. Next slide, please. The Bullock Field Airport is located at the south end of town, and the study area outlined in green on this map is generally bounded by Boulder City Parkway, Great Basin Highway on the north, Buchanan Boulevard on the east, Adams Boulevard on the south, and Gingerwood Street on the west. Next slide, please. So Broadbent conducted background historical research on the evolution of air tourism in the American West, the development of the tourist economy during the late 1930s in southern Nevada and northern Arizona, the impact of World War II on tourism and air travel in the region, and the historical development of Boulder City. Archival research was conducted through the Boulder City Museum and Historical Association, and online resources including historicaerials.com, ancestry.com, newspaperarchives.com, and the Clark County Assessor. Broadbent reviewed previous assessments of Bullock Field, including the 2018 nomination to the Boulder City Historic Register for the Bullock Field Historic District, and the 2001 report and the accompanying State Historic Preservation Office Historic Resources Inventory forms prepared as part of the Boulder City US 93 Corridor Study Historic Structures Survey. City of Boulder City historic building permits were reviewed, as well as a collection of articles and guidelines for evaluating historic airports provided by former HPC Chair Alan Goya, much of which was written by Dennis McBride Mark Hall Patton, former director of the Clark County Museum and aviation history expert, was also interviewed. And I just wanted to add that this presentation is really focused on findings, not necessarily an in-depth research of in-depth history of the property. So hopefully you all had a chance to at least skim the report for those details. Okay, so our survey methodology, we conducted an architectural inventory and survey of the study area. I conducted it myself with Broadbent's historian and archaeologist Lauren King. This was conducted in September of last year. It was conducted as an intensive level historic resource inventory of all buildings and structures within the study area. All building structures and associated features within the study area were documented through photography and geolocated. And of course, notes were taken on all the features of the building and associated features. And an archaeological survey, however, was not conducted. So, Holly, I might have said that I might have skipped and not mentioned to go to next slide, but now we should be on slide 5, which the title says Survey Results Bullock Field Navy Hangar with
Yes,
3
we're there.
images. Okay, perfect. As a result of the survey, Broadbent identified an airplane hangar, the original terminal building / Elks Lodge, remnants of the original runways and associated structures, which are mostly made up of deteriorated concrete features. The following slides will provide information about each resource and our recommendations for eligibility. The Bullock Field Hangar was constructed by the Navy in 1940 to support long-distance flights between the east and west coasts of the United States. This was part of a nationwide mobilization of military facilities in preparation for World War II. The hangar was designed by Albert Kahn Associates, Inc., led by the firm's principal architect, Albert Kahn. He was a German architect who settled in Detroit, Michigan. He prepared some 1,650 plans for naval installations prior to April 1943, including steel frame hangars. He was a prolific architect who was known as the father of industrial architecture. He also completed designs for multiple residences and commercial and public buildings and structures. The hangar is an intact example of a small hangar designed by Kahn for the United States Navy in 1940. Although the glass window panes have been removed or destroyed, the hangar retains the majority of its historic architectural integrity. The only exception to this is the integrity of setting has been compromised due to modern development that has encroached upon the airport's original footprint, as well as the removal of the wooden comfort building, which was located north of the hangar. This building is visible to the right of the hangar in the image to the far left. Broadbent concurs with the previous determination that the Navy hangar is individually eligible for listing in the National Register under Criterion A for its association with local regional transportation history, and Criterion C for its representation of World War II era military aircraft hangars. Additionally, per National Register Bulletin 43, Guidelines for Evaluating and Documenting Historic Aviation Properties, Broadbent recommends the hangar is individually eligible under Criterion A for the development of air power for military purposes, as the hangar was constructed by the Navy to support bicoastal flights as part of the military buildup prior to World War II. Just a quick aside, we couldn't find any proof that it was actually used by the Navy, but it was constructed by the Navy, and we still think that's important because it was constructed as part of this network. Broadbent also recommends the hangar is eligible under Criterion C for its association with the master architect Albert Kahn. The intact hangar embodies the distinctive characteristics and method of construction designed by Kahn and Associates. The firm's hangar designs were important in aviation history, specifically the proliferation of military bases in anticipation of World War II. And the Navy hangar is also recommended as individually eligible for listing as a historic property with the City of Boulder City. Next slide, please. The original Bullock Field runway system originally consisted of 3 runways that converged near the current hangar. The image on the far left was created in 2017 by the city, and it shows the original runway layout from the early to mid-1930s. Now, only a roughly 2,700 foot long discontinuous segment of the main northeast southwest trending runway is extant. This segment is adversely affected by the intrusions of
Did we
the
lose her?
runway to connect Boulder City Parkway, Great Basin Highway with Adams Boulevard. And you can see also that it did extend a little bit into the golf course as well. Therefore, the runway system no longer retains historic integrity and can no longer convey its significance for its association with Bullock Field. For these reasons, the runway system is recommended as not individually eligible for listing in the National Register or as a historic property with the City of Boulder City. The runway system includes 4 additional associated structure types, including a series of non-historic concrete T-hanger pads and 1 larger T-hanger pad located southeast of the main runway. These were constructed between 1980 and 1988. Interestingly enough, they also used to have shelters over the top of them that did not last long. They only appear briefly in historic aerial from the 1980s. A convex concrete pad is located about 120 feet southeast of the larger pad. We don't know what the use of this was, but it's within the area of some of these other features. So we believe it is part of the original runway system. And there was a segmented circle about 800 feet northeast of the northeast corner of the apron. This was constructed in or prior to 1980. We're not quite sure. It's a directional feature. It's all of these features they only partially remain, and so they're, some of their uses or dates of construction are really difficult to tell. So as the runways themselves are recommended as not individually eligible due to the loss of historic integrity, the features associated with the runway system are also recommended as not individually eligible for listing or in the National Register or has historic properties with the City of Boulder City. Next slide, please. The Elks Lodge was documented in 2001 during the Boulder City US 93 Corridor Study Historic Structures Survey. The building was determined to be not eligible to for the National Register due to multiple alterations and fairly significant additions. Broadbent concurs with this determination and recommends the Elks Lodge is also not individually eligible for listing as a historic property with the City of Boulder City, using the same justification. So as the runway system and associated structures and the Elks Lodge have experienced a significant loss of historic integrity, the Bullock Field Airport is not recommended as eligible for listing in the National Register or with the City of Boulder City as a district. Next slide, please. However, just keeping in mind that the hangar itself is recommended as individually eligible for the National Register and for the city. Should the city decide to pursue National Register designation for the Bullock Field Navy hangar, Broadbent recommends additional study of Albert Kahn's designs for airport hangars and a comparative analysis of extant Kahn hangars as well as extant World War II hangars in Nevada. We believe that this would further support an argument for significance and eligibility if it could be completed. And Broadbent also recommends further study of the influence Nevada State Senator Pat McCarran and Congressman James Scrugum had on the construction of World War II era military facilities in Nevada. And we also think that it might be worth perhaps exploring a discontiguous district for World War II features in Boulder City, and perhaps that could be a nomination that could be pursued that would include the hangar and some of the other World War II existing resources throughout the city. And it would nicely complement the designation of a World War II city that was recently achieved. Last slide. That completes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mooney. That was very in-depth. I absolutely love this building. This is an amazing building and want to see what we can do to give it some more life. Any questions or comments for Ms. Mooney?
I have a few comments.
Okay.
So, First of all, last year, as a member of this commission, I brought up a suggestion that Boulder City build a Veterans and Military Museum. And I suggested that the airport hangar could be the start of such a project. Many more buildings would be needed. It would take several years to build out. It would cost a lot of money. And I didn't ask the city for funds, but I just brought it up as a suggestion. A few weeks ago, I appeared before the city council, not as a commission member, but as an individual, and brought up the fact that I would like to see the hangar turned into the beginning of a Veterans and Military Museum. And I suggested that I have ideas for seed money for such a project. And I asked that the appropriate individual on the city council or within the city meet with me so that I can make a more formal presentation. Since that time, I had a brief conversation with the city manager, and the city manager has agreed to meet with me to hear the proposal that I hope to make to him. So at this point, I still would like to see that building to be the beginning of a Veterans and Military Museum. I brought up the fact that Boulder City is a totally friendly veterans town. We have the Veterans Home, the Veterans Cemetery, various veterans monuments located throughout the city, including one that's going to be upcoming soon, the Shane Patton Memorial. And I think it's just an appropriate place, an appropriate town, an appropriate building. So with that in mind, Courtney, I want to ask you, if the building itself is added to the historic register, would that preclude its use as a possible Veterans Museum?
Not at all.
Okay, thank you. I would ask the commission here and to again consider the fact that this town is appropriate for such a museum, and that the hangar would be a perfect starting point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Courtney, I have two questions for you. You mentioned at the end of your report about the recent designation of Boulder City Henderson as a joint World War II community. I'm less familiar with the regulations governing the World War II communities. Does the hangar already contribute to that status, or is there other factors going into that?
It does. It was listed in the application, and so it is considered part of that. It's really more of an honorary kind of designation. I don't believe there are any regulations that come with it. So I think it's just a really nice thing to promote and teach folks about Boulder City's contribution to World War II.
Perfect. And then my second question was towards the beginning of the report, you mentioned in your historical analysis and survey that you had came across a previous recommendation or paperwork that had been filed with SHPO. What was the result of that?
So that in 2001, the Elks Lodge and the hangar were surveyed as part of the that study that was the US 95 study, and they determined that the Elks Lodge was not individually eligible due to all of the alterations, and they determined that the hangar was eligible under A and C.
But SHPO took no other action other than making the determination?
No, yeah, right. They concurred, okay. and that was the end of it. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I would love.
Hey, Courtney, this is. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Blair. Questions for Courtney. The hangar you mentioned that additional study or you recommend additional study, but is it required or just a recommendation in order to move forward with a National Register nomination?
I think it would be helpful. The hangar, we believe, is eligible, but I think a little bit of extra research to kind of do some comparative analysis with other hangars minimally in the state of Nevada that are associated with World War II would be helpful to kind of just bolster those arguments. My only concern is that, since it was not used by the Navy, that might be something that could come up. However, it was constructed by the Navy as part of this network of hangars, and, we think it meets those requirements in that National Register Bulletin. So I think it would just be helpful to have just maybe a little bit more information to kind of help bolster that, just to have some wiggle room.
That makes sense. Does
I
that
agree.
then require additional funding on behalf of the city, or just time for you to complete that additional research?
Yeah, it would take some additional time for sure, but I don't expect it would take that much time. We did uncover some research. We just couldn't complete it within the budget that we had allocated for this.
Okay. My next question, and I think you may have answered this, but all those other associated structures and features, should they be treated as archaeological features? And then is there a need to update the site forms? The ones that were previously, I guess, submitted for the 2001 US 95 study.
Those features were not included in those studies. We just, we did a pretty systematic survey where we walked all over that area to see, just to make sure, we poured over the aerials and we kind of went to the things that we could see from the aerials, and then we did a pretty extensive walk to try to catch everything. We're not, like, for example, the convex piece of concrete, we're not even 100% sure that it's associated with the airport, but we think it is. We can't identify the years that they were, added. So as an architectural historian, we would call these things structures. An archaeologist might call them archaeology. So I don't know.
Fine line.
How to answer that question specifically, Blair, but
Well, I guess I wonder, is that a question for SHPO? Then how do you document those?
It could be, yes.
Okay, yeah. So but the previous documentation that was submitted to the SHPO, and now with your new information that you provided, are those numbers updated, or are those site forms updated? Should they be, I guess?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. That would be up to SHPO, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, they did recommend that they were eligible, and it was concurred. So SHPO concurred on that recommendation. Yeah,
Okay.
we could potentially do this with the HPC. We had suggested that we weren't going to do any archaeology. So since those other features were kind of on the fence, we included them in this report, but it could be something that we could look more into in the future.
Okay, which would be a recommendation, maybe, in the report.
Right.
Okay, and then my final question is, I didn't see any mention of the ticket office that was relocated from the airport to the Clark County Museum, the Grand Canyon Airlines ticketing office, or what they also call the Bradley House. Is there a need to at least acknowledge that building? Or are you familiar with it?
Yes, I am. Yes, we certainly can add that into the report. We were sticking to kind of the local consistent district recommendation, but we can certainly mention it.
Especially if the foundation is still there on site. I don't know if you could make that connection or that you hadn't gotten that far yet. If it even had a foundation, but.
We
That's-
certainly run into anything that would match that size.
Okay. All right, those are all my questions I have. Thank you for writing that and for presenting. I totally support the hangar getting added to the National Register.
As do I.
Michael, does the city have any plans for that facility, or is it just to be kept in a state of arrested decay?
Currently, the facility is being utilized for storage for utility and public works department equipment. And there are no definitive plans on any other uses at this point. But certainly, City Council could direct staff to solicit an RFP, request for proposals, to look at alternative uses in the future.
I would love to see that. I would love to see more people know the history of this amazing building. It was the biggest airport in the West for a while. How can we move forward with getting more of the comparative analysis of other hangars that are like this and moving forward with getting it on the registry?
If I may just jump in, that would be part of a National Register nomination. So that would be a completely different project.
That's very extensive.
Okay.
So certainly what we can do is have an agenda item in the future that discusses priorities of the commission and the available resources to prioritize Ms. Mooney's time on what projects that you would want her to focus on.
Oh, it'll be on an agenda.
I was just going to ask, is that all we need to discuss on this? Because it seems like we all would like to move forward with.
Yes, when we get to agenda item 13.
We'll add it to the agenda. Perfect. All right. Moving along to agenda item 9. For the possible action discussion regarding progress of restoration efforts and planning of opening ceremony for the historic water filtration plant. Staff, your report, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair May. So through the utilization, I apologize. My brain is starting to shut off as the later it gets.
as with all of us, it's all right.
Okay. So through the utilization of RDA funds, so the redevelopment agency funds, as well as state grant money that we receive from SHPO, the city is working to rehabilitate and restore the historic water filtration plant that's located at 300 Railroad Avenue, which was part of the water supply system from the Hoover Dam to Boulder City from its construction in 1931. So in the staff report, that's, that starts on page 603. I provide a little bit of background on the history of the plant, goals and funding initiatives related to its restoration, and then detailed progress report that was provided by our Public Works Department on where we are now with the restoration efforts. So these are underway, and so we have continuously provided monthly updates in regards to the progression of the project under our standard agenda item for discussion and updates on properties in the district. But at the last meeting, Chairman Davenport did request to have a separate item with photographs that are provided on page 607 of this packet, as well as an opportunity to discuss an opening ceremony once the project is complete. So the detailed progress report starts on page 604 with updates highlighted in bold. So you can see the progression that has been made since December. We did receive a public comment that was provided to the board. So if you have any questions in regards to that, as well as the project, we do have Gary Poindexter here with us who can clarify anything or answer any further questions that you have. And I can also highlight the images that we have as well that were provided in the packet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
I just heard that there was some vandalism there at the water treatment plant. Does anybody know about that?
Yes. Please come up.
Please join us again, Mr. Poindexter.
Thank you.
Keeping you busy tonight.
Yeah, no, this is good.
You need
This
a
is
seat
good.
over here.
Yeah, I brought my water this time, so
Fantastic.
I'll fumble a little bit. Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, we had 4 of the panels knocked out. And then they, limited damage, broke off one of the covers for the electrical panel. Other than that, we didn't find any other damage, thankfully. But over the years, we've had quite a bit. And that's why the boards were up, and cameras are going in, motion detection, that will
Okay,
actually
good.
reach back to our police department. Police
fantastic.
department put a trailer over there for the meantime while we're
Oh, okay.
working on getting the cameras
Up and
up and
going,
running. So we definitely want to secure this investment, and it's coming along, so.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building.
It really is.
Beautiful.
Yes, and I love that building. I think I've talked to maybe a few of you, and I've been in that building, and there was times even when I lived in the neighborhood over there going in there. So fun times,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to be part of it. So
Wonderful.
it's really coming along. It's gonna be great at the end. So
Good. I look forward to seeing it.
Me too. Now, do we think it will be done close-ish to our historic day,
What's the date on that?
preservation day? Mother's Day, day
Okay.
before Mother's Day.
So we've been working
Mid-May-ish.
very closely with SHPO. They did have some staffing changes.
Okay.
And so part of that, they did an internal extension for us, because some of our projects we can't get started until the other ones get approved.
Right.
So once that gets approved, I know Robin and, Blair, Carla, I think it was, are meeting today, so we'll get with them tomorrow, hopefully, and have some timelines. And once we get approval, we'll be moving forward. We got everybody lined up, ready to roll. So the goal is we're hoping to get it done as soon as possible, but a nice finished product.
Fantastic. Now, if it gets done, go ahead.
This is Blair again. Can you address the problem with the plexi that you've used for the windows versus glass, and the putty that was used? And is that what contributed to the vandalism? And how are you going to address that?
So the reason behind us using the plexi, we've had, over the years, as I mentioned a minute ago, lots of vandalism, and the reason we boarded everything up, the glass would get broken. Fortunately enough, we had plexi in there, and we were able to put it back in. The way we line this up with the contractor is each one of those windows is numbered. Each one of those panels is not marked on, we have our own record of it. So if they do yellow over time, they do have other damage, we can easily order one panel, I replace it in-house staff. Very inexpensive for us to do that. If it's glass, we would be calling a glass company out, or if they have it on the size we'd have to order it, have it cut, and come out and install it. The DAP putty that was used is so let me back up a little bit. So the glass windows are actually held in by silicone. The DAP putty is more of a aesthetic view on the outside only. When it was brought up, I met the individual over there, I looked at it, I went, okay, yes, we stopped work, we had to look into it a little bit further because there was concern, but that's where it came out, okay, well, no, they're using the silicone as the base, as to hold that in. The putty was used just for aesthetics. I did reach out to a couple other companies. They also said, well, we can test it on Lexan, but we will not guarantee it. We do have a warranty on this product, a 1 year. The other products that might have been available that we looked into, they also made a point that we would have to paint it. This putty we will not have to paint. And we can get it locally. My staff in-house can do any repairs on it. So,
So did the silicone fail?
oh, nothing has failed. No, nothing.
When somebody pushed out the window, that was a failure.
Well, it's all fresh and hadn't cured. And even if you walked up recently and pushed into the putty, it was soft. So if I can't say we're not going to have it again, even a year from now, somebody can come up and knock that window pretty good. The nice thing about it is we'll pick it up and put it back in. Glass, that's going to be a whole different story. And that's the reason we went with the plexi is we've had so many problems with glass. Well, that's the reason we boarded up this building. It wasn't boarded in the early 90s. I've been with the city since 96. We put boards on the inside thinking that would work. They kicked those out. Then we had to add boards on the outside of the building.
Sad.
And steel frame some of them because they continued to get inside graffiti and everything else. So we're hoping we don't have that issue once cameras are up and running.
Especially if it's connected to the police department. That'll
Yeah.
be very helpful and very quick response time too.
Correct. Yep.
So why are the windows boarded up again?
For the contractor to finish up, and that's a tough one for me. I wasn't very happy to see that. I was not aware of that. I had a little talk with staff afterwards. But the idea from the contractor was, we want to finish, we want to close out. If they would have got with us, we would have closed out what they've already finished and allowed them to finish the rest. So,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. So
Just
we-
kidding. Hold up.
So, we received a letter of concern regarding the DAP glazing hitting up against the plexiglass, being that it's plastic, and that the glazing won't cure. Do you know anything about that?
That's what he was just talking about.
That's what he
Yeah.
just addressed.
Oh, I thought that was the
The putty's for
vandalism.
cosmetic
No.
purposes only. It has no purpose in actually holding it. It's being held
So
in by
it will,
silicone.
okay, so we won't have a problem with that?
No, we should not. No,
Okay.
it's just a beauty ring.
Okay,
But the silicone will actually hold in the glass.
okay.
But again, it's not curing. It's not going to harden at all. It'll be consistently soft.
Yeah, will it
Right?
harden at all?
It should harden, yeah. I'll have to check on that and get back to you. I'm not aware that why it wouldn't harden, because at first, it's gonna take a little time. And I know people who walked up and stuck their fingers in it pretty good, testing it out, and so they had to come back and fix that. But the idea is that it will cure, and they won't be able to do that.
And it might be because of the weather, because it's been so cold too.
So-
Sometimes those need to.
Yeah, it could be, I have to check with our building maintenance and get a little further information on the putty.
Basically, you're telling people to quit messing with it and it'll
Don't
actually
put your
get better.
fingers in it.
Seriously, making it
Please.
longer,
Yeah.
jeez. Anything else on this one?
Good luck.
So my question regarding the grand opening or ribbon cutting or whatever we want to call it is, what is the city's plan for the opening? Or are they relying on the Historic Preservation Commission to come up with a plan? I just didn't want to have city council or city staff come up with their own agenda separate from the Historic Preservation
Right.
Commission. So how do we coordinate that?
So I think posing the earlier question about could this be ready by the second weekend of May? If that's the inclination of the commission to focus Historic Preservation Day on this building, we would, as staff, work to clarify whether it would be available for that or not. If not, then we'll coordinate with the commission on what that unveiling would look like and the opportunity for the commission, the city council, and the public to view the building.
Either way, there will be a big celebration All right, let's move on to agenda item 10, possible action, discussion regarding activities for the Historic Preservation Day and award for 2025. Staff, do you have your reports?
Yes, so this is the commission's opportunity to discuss and begin planning HB Day. The staff report just includes an update from our last meeting since we did have discussion and a summary of what we discussed. Just provide an update in regards to the nomination award. So I did launch that on the website on January 15th, as well as utility mailers were sent out with a flyer. So I've included that flyer also in the agenda packet, and I had sent it also out to you all for any comments that you may had or have had. And any edits. So that's been sent out, as well as earlier today, Lisa LaPlante, our communications manager, did send out a press release in regards to the nomination. So we're accepting nominations. So if anybody wants to nominate a home in the historic district, that would be greatly appreciated. But that is out, and there's also screenshots of the webpage included in the packet for what that looks like, what the form looks like. But yeah, I will hand it over to you all. There's past year's themes included and the past year's activity flyer for your reference. I think there was also a question last time about the El Dorado Day Parade. That is the same day, May 10th. So just in case there was a concern about planning this or moving the date in regards to other activities in the valley that may also draw a crowd and not have competition. So just wanted to bring that up. So I'll turn it back over to you, Vice Chair May. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any themes that they wanted to bring up, discuss? I have a few. Beyond brick and mortar, the living history. The power of place, connecting generations. Preserving our past, shaping our future. Are a couple of them. You guys
You're going 30,000 feet on this one.
You know, you got to find the theme, and then everything else works around it.
Tell me those again.
Let's see. Beyond brick and mortar, the living history. The power of place, connecting generations. Preserving our past, shaping our future. And that might be really nice if we have the water plant up and able to have that opening as well. That would be nice.
I think the last one really kind of fits with some of the goals and stuff this commission has been pursuing over the past 2 to 3 years and where we're looking moving forward, particularly with several major projects underway, whether that's discussions about the hangar, the water filtration plant, some of the other ongoing projects throughout the community. I think that really does fit well.
And that would be nice too, because a lot of those different buildings are our past, but hoping to rejuvenate them and using them in the future.
I like that.
I do too.
I like that one too.
Good job.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
good girl.
we're nailing things down for a day.
At the last meeting, you asked me to look into the possibility of having staff at the museum do presentations.
Yes.
I did speak to my restoration specialist. He is willing to discuss the projects we undertook last year, which is the restoration of Union Pacific Dining Car 4813, as well as the Bureau Reclamation switching locomotive. I do want to make a note there that in talking with our contractor for the construction of the visitor center, the Bureau Reclamation locomotive is expected to be craned into its pedestal in late April or early May, so it probably
Ooh, that's
will not be
exciting.
available for Historic Preservation Day because it'll be in the construction area at that point.
But close. You have some dates down. That's exciting.
Yep.
Good deal.
Are you going to do the award presentation as well? Or would you do the award?
It'll be more difficult for us to do and host this year because of all the construction that's ongoing at the museum. We've also done it the past 2 years, and while I'm grateful and would be happy to do that again, I do think it's appropriate to share the love with other in the community.
Perfect, though.
Yeah, it was.
What are some other places or ideas that we have to present that award?
Boulder City Company Store.
Okay. They were
And we did
involved
that last year.
Last year too.
Mhm.
She did a great job.
Yeah. It's in town. It's easy for people to get to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
And
nice to be
showcase.
indoors too.
Yeah, exactly.
And depending on the award or who it goes to, it may be appropriate to do it at that property.
Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah.
Would we have enough time to advertise that though on the flyer, depending upon when we make the final choice on who wins the award?
No, we would not have enough time to do that. I just wouldn't be on that activities flyer, which we
Okay.
need to
And that would
finalize next
be,
month.
that would be important too. Oh, that was my next question. When does the flyer need to be done by?
The next meeting.
No pressure.
I can take that on. I'll create one. But that means this meeting, we need to have everything finalized, where we're going, what we're doing, and everything, the whole
Well,
agenda.
Sorry, you can finalize the activities at the next meeting. Let me clarify that. So the next meeting will be the last opportunity to talk about activities and get that final information, and then we can create the flyer.
Okay, so the flyer and everything does not need to be done by next month?
That's correct.
Perfect.
We just need to finalize everything, where it's going to be, what we're going to do, and all that by next,
At the next meeting.
Yeah.
at the next meeting.
Which is a lot, because depending upon what different, possible locations or activities, we would need to have a better idea at this meeting than to take the next month to go ask people if they want to participate or what activities they're willing to do with us.
Shouldn't we do that? Everybody take, I don't know, go and talk to different people down in the historic district and see who's willing to do it, so that we can come back next month and say, okay, these are the people who said that they would do it, and then finalize our location then.
But what are you asking them?
We're asking them to host it.
What we're saying is we need to have something connected to it. What is going to be their participation?
So we had the museum last year. You want to tell real quick what
Yeah,
we did with that one?
So last year, we talked about the museum's role in preserving artifacts, and particularly discussing the historic rail yard that we continue to preserve, as well as ongoing efforts to preserve pieces of equipment from the Jackass and Western Railroad, which operated at the Nevada Test Site. 3 of those pieces are currently at the museum. 4 more are likely to come in the next couple of years. So that's kind of what we talked about this year. We're talking about some of the restoration projects, and we can use that to connect into the way people preserve their homes here in the community, to make sure there's a time, but keeping it within that theme of historic preservation and educating the public about historic preservation.
Mhm. And the deep history that Boulder City has. So with the theme last year, it was planes, trains, and automobiles. So we had, obviously, he did the trains. Then we went to the hangar, and we had activities there, and we had an amazing presentation for the adults, and for the youth, we had activities. And the student council from Garrett came up and ran some of those. And then automobiles behind the Boulder City store. We had some old restored Porsches, tractors, and we had scavenger hunts. We had all sorts of really fun activities kind of all over the whole city that kind of stuck with the theme.
So
of
the
planes,
flyer
trains,
for
and-
that is on page 620, if you want to see what the activities were last year.
It's this colorful one.
The pretty one.
Yes. All right.
Well, we already have one down. So I think at this point, it's just the commission
Coming
feeling
up
like
with
where it
ideas.
wants to go to fit in with the theme that we've identified earlier.
So can you repeat the theme so I can write it down and think about it?
Preserving our past, comma, shaping our future. And, sorry, just thinking out loud. I will work with Main Street Boulder City to see how they want to be involved with that. And hopefully we can work together and come up with some activities for the youth, the younger kids, get them involved as well, since they're working on doing the banners.
Michael, could you work with staff in Mr. Poindexter's office to identify when we expect the punch out on the water filtration plant and whether it's realistic or not to try and incorporate this into Historic Preservation Day or not?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if we're ready with that, I would love to give the award there, possibly. If we'd have to have a plan B though, as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can identify the location and ask the recipient to come to that location, just like we did with the museum, and acknowledge it there.
Is, being that I'm new to this, is there some kind of list of the people this last year who has restored their homes that we can look at, go drive by and see them?
I mean, I can definitely prepare something for you all based on building permits that we've received and certificate of appropriatenesses that we've issued. So
that would be great.
Any other discussions? I think it would be helpful maybe if we all could come up with maybe something else that fits into the theme that we could, an activity or location that fits into preserving our past, shaping our future. We'll bring it ready to discuss.
I have an idea.
Fantastic.
That it's an
We've
art,
got time. Give it to us.
It's an art project. What about teaching people to make tile? Because, you know, a lot of the tiles from back in the 30s are not available, but they can be made.
Would there be, I assume there would be a cost associated with that, and if so, where's the funding coming from? That might be a question for Michael.
We budget approximately $400 to $500 each year for Historic Preservation Day activities. So certainly if it's within that budget amount, if there's somebody who's willing to volunteer their time to show a demonstration project for people who are interested, that could be incorporated as part of the activities that day.
So we have here a place at the ABC Park that does clay work. Maybe we can go and ask one of them if they would do a demonstration on how to make
We would need to make sure that it fits into what our mission is and what our goal is with
it does
the preservation.
Well, it does, because we're preserving our past, and a lot back then, the tiles that were used were the black with the yellow, and or the pink with the black, and those tiles are no longer available. So let's just say, hypothetically speaking, somebody wants to preserve their bathroom and they have a few broken tiles. This would give them an opportunity to learn how to do that.
I wonder if there's any businesses that still have that tile up. I can't think of any right now, because then we could maybe house that.
Is this something you're willing to go and discuss with them?
Yeah.
And report back next meeting?
do some research on that.
Because
would be
it's really, you know, it's really simple. It's, you know, you just lay it out, you make your square, you, and then it just needs to be kilned, and then, whatever color that they want to put, and they have all of that there. So it's something that, I mean, they wouldn't get their project that day,
Right.
but it would be something that they can start and learn how to do it. And that's part of the preservation of historic buildings. I mean, it's just a thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely research the thought.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is, because I just had to redo my bathroom because I could not find tile. Oh, you have no idea. But I went through to try and find tile.
We can all make tile for you.
I like, it's a little late. Where were you 6 months ago?
Sorry.
No, I think that would be really good. Dawn, what would you like to bring to the table next month?
I don't know, how about the other coffee shop? Since we did Tara's, we'll talk to Browder's.
Which one?
Browder's Bookstore.
Where's that?
It's next.
Browder's?
Mm-hmm. It's next to, the Mexican Big T's.
Okay. Isn't that Dam Roast House?
Mm-hmm.
What did you call it? Browder's?
Bookstore.
Oh, okay. Ms. Davenport?
Actually, I had a question for staff, and that is, if we have ideas and want to discuss, and, you know, outside of this meeting, are we still restricted to just talking to one person at a time?
Yes, unfortunately, to avoid open meeting law violations, the commission has to have the conversations here. So I think your approach, giving assignments to individual commissioners to go and contact individuals or explore an idea and report back next month, is the best way to get that information and then make a final decision in February.
Are we able to talk one-on-one if we think maybe somebody has a contact with maybe somebody where we're going?
No,
Not
you
even
sign
one?
that here.
Huh?
You need to go through staff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can inquire of staff. Staff can look into it and get back to you.
Okay. Could be the middleman. I have a list of things I need you to look into, Mr. Mace. Anything else? Anybody? Ms. Davenport, any other comments on this?
It's, you know, I'm really promoting the water treatment plant, even if it's maybe not completed, completely completed by the deadline. I think it should still be on the,
I agree.
the tour, so to speak. You know, we can even talk about it on the exterior, or the exterior of the building. There's plenty to do out there, even if we can't get in, so.
Okay. Anything else? Everybody knows, has a job or something to talk to? Somebody? Activity? All right, agenda item number 11, update on implementation of the commission's goals and priorities. Staff, your report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, Vice Chair May. So on a monthly basis, staff provides the commission with an update on its adopted goals and priorities. And these updates are highlighted or indicated in bold on the attached chart, which starts on page 622. And staff is available for any questions that you may have.
Questions? Great, thank you. Agenda item number 12 for possible action, discussion, update on the status of properties in the historic district or other potential eligible properties. Staff, your report.
Thank you again, Vice Chair May. So again, on a monthly basis, staff provides a report on the status of historic preservation activities as it relates to building permits, awards, projects, and grants. So this is the commission's opportunity to ask any questions on those updates. The January report is attached. It starts on page 625 of the agenda packet. And I've highlighted any updates and changes in bold. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Fantastic. Any questions, comments? Nothing. Next is agenda item 13 for the possible action. Commission discussion regarding potential agenda items for upcoming Historic Preservation Commission meetings. And this is our last item.
No, it's not. One more after this, the public comment period.
Well, on our agenda, we don't have a number 14, but yes, of course, we will. Public comments.
So this is your guys' opportunity to discuss collectively if you want any agenda items on future meetings.
I would request that we add a agenda item to a future meeting, looking at the feasibility of what it would take to do the further analytical research on the hangar and then moving towards possible inclusion on the National Register.
Does the rest
I
of
second
the
that.
commission agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes. Ditto.
Thank you. Are there any other items?
I don't know if we need to check back with the water treatment plant again, or if they will come to us and let us know progress.
We will continue to provide updates to the
Okay.
commission monthly, and then, of course, come
Perfect.
back next month with the answer about its use for
Okay.
Historic Preservation Day.
I have a possible agenda item, but it need input from staff, and that is, do we need input from the Historic Preservation Commission to update the goals, the commission goals?
So, the commission goals were adopted by the city council. And so this is what we report out monthly to the commission on the progress on implementation of those goals. Any new commission goals are tied to the historic preservation plan, and a new historic preservation plan would need to be conducted with input by the commission and community input, as well as review by the city council. Certainly, what we can do is an agenda item where you look at the remaining goals and you provide direction on priorities for its implementation and the resources that would be needed to implement those.
So we have some items on here that need to be fulfilled by by this year, that have not been fulfilled, like a conduct a citywide, I can't say that word, level survey of the city historic resources. That has to be done by 12/31/25. Is that?
So
It
we
works?
can't discuss it during this agenda item, but next month we can
put
focus
that on the
that.
agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, so can we add this to the agenda for next month,
Yes.
as well as completing a citywide historic context statement?
Yeah, so I'll just add a general just item about the historic preservation plan and the associated goals, and we can talk about I think there's only 3 that remain that we need to complete, and we can have that discussion then.
Perfect. Anything else? Now is the final public comment period for the evening. The public may call 702-589-9629 to provide public comments. Is there anybody in the audience?
Hello again, and thank you for your
Hello.
patience. This is Robin Baker. So I have a couple things. Number one, you have received another letter from me with concerns that I have related to the historic preservation. I would like to see someone who actively advocates for with homeowners who are within the historic district. An example, I think, is of that young family who was here tonight. They went through the process that they thought was working through with the building permit, which is great, and it sounds like they have an idea about the siding, but who represents the city in really clarifying things? And so I would, and I will continue to request that you as a commission advocate for our historic district, because it's more than just the strip of the business district. It's every house on every single street. I think there are multiple owners within the district who aren't sure what the boundaries of where the boundaries of the district are. And what are the expectations? Because I wonder if the expectations of the tree streets are different from other streets. I'm really not sure. And we have another home on Date Street, and if anyone ever approached us and said, this is something that you could do to enhance that property, we would definitely try to do it. And my request is also in the spirit of engaging people in what you're talking about with the Historic Day, of getting them to understand the value of our properties and care for the properties. So that is one thing I'd like to mention. The other, well, there's several. The next thing is that I need to apologize because we were out of town when the Bureau of Reclamation came. But I've talked to many people. I read the article in the newspaper, and I have no understanding of what is the next step. What exactly is the Bureau of Reclamation going to do? And I know that you cannot respond to me during public comment, but I have no idea where I go to find out what the plan is. The other day when we were driving home and turning into the alley behind our home, I saw some workers replacing the hosing under the sign and some of the plants. And that indicated to me that that's the Bureau of Reclamation's effort to complete the project. I don't know. I get no answer from the city. I get no answer from the Bureau of Reclamation. And I'm sure you understand that that's very frustrating to have no answer from anyone, not even we don't know. Now, I have to say, Nikki, and I'm sorry, I'm getting nervous now. Ms. Lyon has been extremely helpful with clarifying things for me. But there is a point when I'm expecting, I hopefully am expecting, the commissioners not only to be able to clarify these things for me, but also to advocate actively about the historic areas.
You have 30 more seconds, just to let you know.
Oh, okay. So, but the last thing is if the problem is you're limited in what you can do and what you can't do, then how do we expand the scope of the expectations of the commission? What do we need to do as citizenry to expand your scope so that you can actively be commissioners protecting the historic districts? So hopefully I'll run into you at some point in time, but thank you for your time and your service. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Again, if you would like to call in, 702-589-9629. Hearing no one else, we will close the final public comment period. This meeting is adjourned.
Well done, Krista. Thank you.
You better be back next week.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.